Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making a breakfast hash, and we're going to be doing that in a large 10-inch cast iron skillet. We're going to start off on the stovetop, and I'm going to use the diced hash browns. So we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the pan, 1 to 2 tablespoons, just to coat, so that we don't get a sticky base. And of course, if your cast iron is properly seasoned, it's going to be pretty non-stick. So the recipe initially calls for 1.5 pounds of the hash browns. I use frozen hash browns just because it's a little bit easier, and I like to use the diced because it's a little bit more texture added in. So that was a 2-pound bag. We're only going to be using about 3/4 of that bag, of course. So we're going to be making sure the olive oil is spread around, making sure the pan's getting nice and hot. And the initial recipe calls for 1 whole bell pepper sliced up, and 1/2 of an onion. And this bag has green and red peppers, and I like that color variance. I like to add a little bit of interest in the food. And again, frozen, just because it's a little bit easier, and all you have to do is just, throw it in. You don't have to deal with getting the cutting board and cutting everything. It's just a little bit easier. Just a lot bit easier, actually. So we're just gonna let that kind of sizzle a little bit while we get our ingredients. We have paprika, onion powder, and we're gonna use garlic salt because I don't have garlic powder. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon each of the garlic and the onion, and then 1/2 teaspoon of the paprika. And that paprika is mostly just for color. You do get a little bit of the smokiness that a lot of paprika comes with. I have a lot of messages coming through. So we're gonna go ahead and measure everything out, put it into this little bowl. And it's just a little bit easier to add it in when you have everything kind of all mixed together in one spot, so you can just kind of dump it. I'm just getting everything measured out. Getting it all mixed in. You are gonna add salt and pepper. That's just gonna be to taste. And that usually I do right before I put it in the oven, because I don't want to overwhelm everything with salt and pepper. It's just kind of a last minute add-on. And that garlic salt is of course salt, so it's got plenty of sodium. And we're just gonna add the last of that bag in there. Get it all mixed up. It looks pretty steamy. It's still that medium-high heat. It's just the fact that, the vegetables are frozen, so all that water is gonna give off a lot of steam as it's melting and cooking out. We're gonna give that a real good stir. Just get it all heated out. About 1 to 2 minutes. We're gonna have that sweating out. So you wanna make sure that the peppers still have a lot of color, but you want the onions sweated out to where it's like a translucent color almost. Give it another good stir. And while this is happening, make sure to have your oven, because that would be silly. Have your oven preheating right now, between 350 and 400, depending on your oven. Because you don't want to burn the eggs in the hash when you put it in the oven later. We'll get more on that. But I've just added the 1.5 pounds of the diced hash browns. And you really want to get in there and get that really well mixed, because you don't want the hash browns just to be on top while you're cooking. because you really want everything to be melted together. Get those potatoes on the bottom of the pan and get them nice and heated up. And this is kind of a boring part because right now you're mixing, you're stirring, you're letting it sit, and I let it sit for another couple minutes and just let it get nice and steamy. Sorry about that. Going in, we've added the seasoning. Get it all mixed in there. And like I said, that paprika gives a really good color, and you can see it's kind of sticking on the hash browns and the peppers as I'm stirring it around. And again, everything was frozen, so it has a lot of ice, a lot of water in there, a lot of moisture, and that's what that steam is really all about. It's not smoke, it's steam. So here I'm making sure that the oven is getting nice and hot. Still getting everything mixed together, making sure that it doesn't sit in one spot the whole time, because you don't want any burnt spots, you don't want any stuck spots on the pan. Getting it nice and cooked. There you go. Getting it kind of flattened out a little bit. Like I said, this is really super boring, so my bad. Getting the last few good stirs in. And make sure when you've gotten everything ready, you make sure to get all your ingredients together so that when you're at the stovetop, you don't have to go and dig for any ingredients. Because very soon, in a minute, you're gonna need 4 whole eggs in the shell. So just go to your fridge, grab 4 eggs, and we're gonna be adding those in just a minute. Alright, so one final good pat down. The oven has been preheated. I set mine to 350. We've got 4 of those whole eggs. And I like to get a bowl because it's a lot easier to do this next step. One, you're kind of making little craters in the hash. And it's just easier to make with a bowl, instead of just putting the egg right on top of that flat surface, because then everything's just kind of meld together. Make sure to crack the eggs into a separate small bowl. That same small bowl was fine. I forgot the cheese. Can't forget the cheese. Recipe calls for, I think, a half a cup of cheese. Half cup of shredded cheddar cheese. So that's about what I used. I used the taco mix cheese, the Mexican blend cheese that was already shredded, just for ease. And then you're just gonna plop the eggs very carefully. Don't break the yolk. You don't want the yolks broken. You really want that kind of sunny side up egg in those little pockets, those little divots that you made into the hash. You want it sitting right up top. And Again, be really careful when you're cracking the eggs. That's why you're doing it in a separate bowl, so that if you get any eggshell, it's easier to scoop out. So that's what we're doing right here. Last egg. And pouring it right in that little spot right there. It's a good spot for an egg. So now we're going to make sure that the oven is nice and preheated. That's what all the hand gestures is about. Get just a pinch of salt, because that's gonna go right on top, because you can't scramble the eggs to season them. Everything's gonna go right on top. You're just gonna sprinkle some black pepper on top as well. Just those last 2 added punches before you send it into the oven. I'm gonna grab our nifty little oven mitt. It's kind of heavy, so be careful because it's hot too and you don't want it sliding down. That's all going in. Alright, so 10 minutes in the oven, and you really just want that to be in there just to cook the whites of the eggs and make sure that the yolk is warm. You don't want the yolk overcooked to where it's gonna kind of be like a jello or a jelly consistency, but you want those whites cooked all the way through. And that 10 minutes at 350, that'll cook it. So, there it is. 10 minutes. It'll give you time to do whatever. Check your mail, check your email, check your phone. And after those 10 minutes, turn off your oven, grab your lovely oven mitt that you treat like a puppet because that's how your life goes. Be really careful because this is going to be really hot. It's going to be way hotter than when it came off the stovetop in the first place. And that's why I swapped oven mitts. Actually, no, it's not why I swapped oven mitts. It's because, I couldn't find the other ones. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely breakfast hash. Whites cooked all the way through. I'm gonna take some parsley. This is dried parsley. Obviously, if you want, you can use fresh parsley, nice and chopped on top. It's a little bit of garnish, but it does add to that last bite flavor as well. Obviously, it's not spicy, it's parsley. It's mostly for color and for a nice garnish on top. And get a good scoop. Maybe not that one. Please not that one. Just pick another one. Thank you. You don't want to break the yolk. And that was going to be a disaster. And everything's just sliding. Get that big old steamy, delicious scoop going. Okay. Usual cameraman. Bowl of breakfast hash. Bite. It's still really hot. I'm sorry. The steam. Hot.
Mm-hmm. But really good.
Is it?
Like that was worth the little bit of pain.
Worth the little bit of pain. Are you glad you're getting fed?
So happy.
Nice. All right, enjoy your breakfast.
Thank you.